What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Small Lake City Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Nilsson, and this week's guest is Nonie Ferguson, the founder of Law Elevated, a family law practice based in Park City, Utah. Now, Noni isn't from Salt Lake. She's from South Florida, but she moved here for, shocker, a boy. And she has since created her own family law practice here, starting a family here. And what makes her practice unique is it focuses on the client themselves, their mental health, what they're going through, and a lot of the humanity in the process, and not just the legal ramifications or what they're entitled to. Now, a great conversation with Noni. We talk a lot about the uniqueness of Utah, what made her want to be here, especially with her starting a family. So let's jump into it. Hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you on the other side. Enjoy.
Velvet Taco.
It's like one of the, have you ever been to, what's the place downtown? Rock Taco?
In Fort Lauderdale?
No, in Salt Lake. It's like one of those, for lack of a better term, very white taco places where it's like, here's a fried chicken taco, or here's a salad taco.
Got it.
This is one of those places. I like it. I remember the only reason I know about it really is everyone's on. You want it? If not, okay. I can manage volume. The only reason I know it's from Dallas is because I did, in a very Utah fashion, summer sales down there for a summer in college. And every Saturday night when we were done, we would go to this taco place. And it was so phenomenal. And they had...
So in college, you were going to Fort Lauderdale too?
This was in Dallas.
Oh, got it. This is the place that it's similar to.
So that's where I found it.
Got it.
And when I went to Fort Lauderdale the first time for work, I was like,
there
it is.
It clicked.
That's good. But yeah, Fort Lauderdale's fun. It was more fun when I first started, it was in February. So I was like, great, I get to leave Utah in February, go to Fort Lauderdale.
For sure.
It was so nice. And then this summer when it was, 100 degrees here and 100 degrees there, there is no escaping any sort of...
Do you like a cocktail every once in a while or no?
Hard yes.
Okay, well, that's a good place for it.
Well, me and my boss have a joke because whenever we get together, we'll always do... vodka martinis. Because in Utah, you can't get a true martini.
No.
And so whenever he's away from it, 3 kids is why he's like, vodka martini. It's funny, his name's Eric as well. So they're the Erics.
Got it.
But yeah, it's fun. Florida's just such a, you put Florida and Utah, especially Salt Lake together, that is a Venn diagram that very minimal.
Yeah.
Overlap.
Yeah, no, there's not much overlap at all.
But
yeah,
it's good. Also, it was phenomenal to drive up here because I was a couple weeks ago, golf tournament I was telling you about. I was like, I'm going to drive back through Guardsman. It is that time of the year.
Yeah, it is.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then now, it's always that, the FOMO of, these are only going to be there for a week or two.
For sure.
Get out there. Winter's coming.
Yeah.
And so you always have this FOMO of I'm not getting out enough. I'm not enjoying it.
Yeah.
So I was like, that scratched that itch away.
Yeah, good. Good. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's already starting to fade. So good thing you got up here when you did.
Yeah, it's once those reds start to turn into more a muted rustic red, you're oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm starting to miss it. Yeah.
And because we're up in Park City, because where your office is, or do you live up in Park City?
I do. Okay. Yeah.
So you can enjoy it all.
Yeah. Like you though, we're really busy. So on the weekends when we can.
So I'm drinking my water really quick.
Yeah.
Whenever I can tell my voice is getting dry.
For sure.
There's enough episodes I've recorded where someone's voice will literally just completely dry out.
Yeah.
Or I'll be listening to it back and I'll be give them a cup. Just I could tell they need a cup of water so badly.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell at the time. So
yeah.
I will not be a victim of that.
Okay, good.
But Law Elevated. I'm excited because I get a handful of, let's call it professional services, people to reach out. And my question back to them is always well, why you? If I'm going to have an attorney, a banker, whatever it might be profession, why should it be you? Is there anything you're doing specifically? Is there any sort of unique shtick or niche that you serve? And most people are hey, you got me. We're just a normal patent law firm. Right. I'm thanks, but no thanks.
Right.
And so when, I can't remember who reached out her name, but
Callie probably.
Callie reached out. And I was all right, let's look at this.
Cool.
And I was interesting.
Yeah.
Because the reason it struck a chord with me is, as I mentioned, I was setting up, I'm divorced. And Law Elevated primarily focuses on family law.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting with me because when I got divorced, very fringe case where no attorneys, no nothing. Like everything was pretty much separated to begin with. She has her 401k, I had mine, bank accounts, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, well, like
a breakup with paperwork.
Yeah. Like, and I go through the paperwork and I'm like, this is it? Like, I expected to be ChatGPTing the entire thing. It's like, declare this, declare that, sign here, 30 days, sign that. And it's good.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because, like, I've seen a lot, as most people in Utah, which we'll get to, have experienced a lot of divorce in my life. Okay. And there's like this range of any people, the claws are out, everything is so bleak. And then there's the other side where it's like, hey, it's just like not working anymore.
Right.
And when I was going through my process and I didn't feel like I had any resentment, anger, any strong negative emotions, and I was processing, I was like, there's such a better way. Because there's like this legal entitlement, but then there's this part of like, hey, this is person you used to love. This is person that you shared so many experiences with. Like, do you really want like to treat them like that? B, go after them like that.
Right.
And every client, I imagine, is so different on their approach and what their ultimate goal is. But I love that Law Elevated focused on a lot on like the compassion, the empathy, the really like the emotional side of what's going through it as well, instead of just being another suit and briefcase and legal jargon.
Yeah, agreed. That's the goal. That's what we're going for. And that's like the whole vibe of the place, as you can see, right? It's so that people feel different. They feel treated different. You're focusing on the human versus the outcome, maybe. Yeah. And I think that generally leads to a better outcome when you're focusing on like your clients' like emotional needs, physical needs, not just everything purely financial or, maybe hate driven. Right. Yeah.
Because it reminds me of, so I had, her name was Valerie Craycroft, or Dr. Craycroft, on the podcast a few episodes ago. She was an OBGYN for her entire career and just really felt like, the impetus for it was that she had a sister-in-law that was having these health issues no one could explain. And she was looking at all of these like natural medicine, but also like holistic medicine of taking care of all parts of your life to heal it. And it wasn't until she started learning about that and seeing in the application there that she's like, I feel like there's this part of like my need to heal people, help people, but the way that it's being done isn't necessarily right.
Right.
And so hearing you talk about that, where it's not just catering to, all right, here's the legal, what you're entitled to, what do you want us to do? Like, we are here to serve you.
Yeah.
But instead being like, oh, that's tough. Like, it is hard. It's one of the hardest processes a lot of people have ever go through in their life.
Absolutely.
And so to think that there isn't like this emotional internal battle as well, and helping with that as well.
Yeah.
The whole part of the picture.
Totally. You have to take, and what we try to do is take a holistic like approach to it, right? Is I'm just one piece of the puzzle and my client's one piece of the puzzle. And there's so many other professionals or things we can put in place to try to make the whole picture better, right? Not just like what's going to be on that piece of paper, but after the paper's signed, is tomorrow going to be better? Are they going to feel stronger? Because the process breaks you down. So the goal is if you can come out feeling better, right? Then I feel like not only did I get you hopefully a great outcome in a hard situation, but if you can feel like a better, stronger person, like, hey, I just went through something that statistically is one of the hardest experiences you're going to go through, second to losing a child, right? I made it, and now I don't have to feel beaten down by it. I don't have to feel like my life is over. I can actually feel like, with the help of, hopefully Law Elevated and the other professionals we've set you up with, that like tomorrow can be better. Like, I can be stronger. I can be more confident, right? Because people come through that door so broken. And I feel like part of my job, and that's why I feel like family law is different, right? I feel like we all have this like obligation to not just handle the paperwork, right? But handle the human and try to make them better, make them stronger, because they are so broken usually when they come to you. And I feel like if you approach it that way, like better client care, like a lot of medicine, right? They're trying to redefine how can we get back to where we actually knew our patients' names, right? Or we actually had time to review a chart before we walked in a room. And I feel like there is a resurgence in medicine where they're trying to get back to that. And I feel like law needs that too, in a big way. And so that's like a huge focus here. It's like we prioritize the human, not just, the statistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting talking to people who find themselves at these intersections of, like, because for the most part, especially once you get to adulthood, life is pretty stagnant until there's like marriage, kid, whatever event that might be, but
Mhm.
be in a place where you find yourself at those moments so much, usually not for the best of circumstances. Like you see a lot of human emotions and a lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember when, like one book I read when I was going through that transition was Conscious Uncoupling.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about, I mean, a lot of the emotional process, but like things that I had definitely weren't new thoughts, but like, let's call it, I mean, either reminders or another like source of validation to that, of being like, hey, like, there's something for you that you need to learn in this. Like at the end of the day, you got yourself into whatever situation is and learn from that.
Mm-hmm.
Also realize you're dealing with a human. Also deal with, like, realize that there's like another part of this that needs to be healed and solved from, or else patterns just keep repeating themselves
Exactly.
over and over and over again.
Exactly.
And even like some of my friends, like I have one friend who his in-laws have been going through a divorce for a better part of a decade.
Hmm.
And it's just thing after another. She just kind of wants to bleed him dry. And I feel like there's a law. I'm curious if you feel like this is true or not, but people kind of use this as a way to feel like it's going to fix whatever they're feeling. And so they can make this end with the way that they want, or drag it on forever, or kind of, I mean, maybe to ever walk, like inflict this in pain on them, then then they feel like that will help.
Yeah, retribution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Absolutely.
But let's back up, because I'm curious about how this all came to be. So born and raised in Fort Lauderdale, obviously ready to be an attorney. But I mean, just kidding. But talk to me about what it was like or like that path towards knowing that you wanted to study law and go to law school.
Yeah. I kind of always knew I wanted to be a lawyer. Didn't really focus on it too much until,
Was there like a moment in your childhood where you're like,
I always told my dad, apparently, that like I want to be a lawyer. And then my dad and mom, both really encouraged it. But my mom's story is always that I'd get in these, little arguments with my dad, and my mom would yell down, like, who's the adult down there, And that they're like, well, she should go to law school. She should be a lawyer. So I think there was some encouraging, right? But I've definitely always wanted to do it. And then halfway through college, I stopped playing volleyball and was like, I'm not going to be a professional volleyball player, right? Like that just wasn't in the cards. And so I was like, I need to probably focus on what I want to be, which is law, and started really focusing on my grades.
Where'd you go to school for undergrad?
I went to Providence College.
Okay.
And played volleyball there. And then I need to focus, get good grades. Got really good grades, applied to law school, went to law school in Fort Lauderdale. After law school, I was a public defender for 4 years in the Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. Yeah. And then moved here. But that was my entry into law. All through law school, I knew I wanted to do litigation. And I always was pulled to criminal defense work because I think, I love family law, but I have such respect for criminal defense attorneys. I think that that's what makes, part of the United States, our country is that you're innocent until you're proven guilty. And I feel like public defenders, criminal defense attorneys are kind of protectors of the Constitution and make law and hold people accountable. So I always thought it was a really brilliant part of law to get into. And so that was my, entry into the legal world. And it was like the most amazing experience ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because especially in litigation, there's so many people who, you don't have to name any names around the world, but there's always people, it's like, oh, they're like just slangy people.
Yeah, for sure.
Then the law, a lot of people say the legal system sometimes can be a pay to play type of avenue, but
absolutely.
I also think that there's so much good in, public defense, because it's usually not what most people who are looking to law as a way to make a lot of money with.
Nor not. Yeah.
But they're also the people who, like you said, are on the front lines of the Constitution, fight for people who usually won't be fought for.
Yeah.
And also, I grew up watching Daredevil. Do you watch the show Daredevil, where he's a public defender?
No, I probably should have.
It always comes to mind. But I'll never forget, quick side tangent, I was just home after my mission.
Okay.
And I got called into jury duty.
Oh,
and I was like,
nice.
Okay. Like, even my mom and my sisters are like, there's no way you'll actually make it on the jury. So yeah, it's fine. I got stuff to do. I'm in college.
Right.
So I go down, and it's like there's a couple hundred of you, and then next, you start to get whittled down and down, and all of a sudden
you're what they want. I'm a college kid for
sure. Just like this mind to be molded that hasn't been molded yet.
Exactly.
So,
or you're in college and you have more of an open-minded perspective than some adults who have had lots of maybe tarnished experiences. I would go for you if I was a criminal defense attorney. Yeah, you would be on my top list to have in the jury.
it's kind of like the opposite of getting picked last in gym class. Like, it's like, yeah, we'll take the...
Who they're fighting, but you know they're fighting over you if essentially one side wants you and the other side wants to strike you. You're like, they liked me. Yeah, exactly.
Can you say that louder, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. For everybody in the back.
Uh-huh.
So I end up on this jury panel, which is like wild
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
I don't wish anybody to do it because it's not like anything you ever want to do, but it's fun to...
No one wants to, right?
And because I remember when they first called us, we go in the back room or whatever,
Yep.
and no one's talking, not a single word. Very, like, this is 2012, so a couple people had phones, and I just got back from my mission, so I'm just ready to talk to anything.
Yeah, I guess.
So I'm like, the first time they're like tapping my knee, just wanting to talk about it. We go, they do the first stuff or whatever, and then we come back, and the second time I was like, all right, I can't do this anymore. Let's go around the room, introduce ourselves. Like, I can't do this.
Right.
And so I'd make everybody go around the room, introduce themselves, and we all like started talking.
Amazing.
Which in hindsight, what the hell? Like, wild. Never would do that a million years.
Well, it makes sense what you're doing now, though. I see it.
It's good to know I don't have a fear of public speaking.
Right. Definitely don't. Yeah.
But I'll never forget. So there was this attorney that was the public defender, and fast forward 40 years later, I was in this elevator in this building for an internship I was doing, and I was like, I know that voice. No, it's him. And everybody got out the elevator. We were going to the top floors, and I'm like, hey, did you defend a case that was this, and this? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I was on the jury. He's like, no way. Like, oh, like, good to see you.
Yeah.
So it was funny to... But okay, anyway, back to the main event. So you start in public defense and you get all of that, but then you wanted to eventually make your way back or to litigation in defense. I mean, at what point did this come into picture? Because not only changing to family law from that is different. Well, I guess it is family law, just litigation, family law. But talk to me about what led to you wanting to not only start your own practice, but start a practice that has, a spin to it that you're not used to seeing.
Sure. Well, what happened was I moved to Utah and had to take the bar again. So no reciprocity, meaning you're licensed in Florida, you can practice law in Florida, but we don't recognize that license here in Utah because Florida won't recognize Utah attorneys. So Florida's a really hard bar to become a part of. It's super competitive. There's a lot of lawyers. It's a really hard bar exam. And so Florida is this like no reciprocity state. You have to take Florida's test to be a lawyer there. So because of that, other states are like, well, then you can't just come here and be a lawyer here. If you're going to make Utah attorneys do the test, we're going to make you do it too. Yeah. So I had to come here and study for the test again. And while I was studying for the test, and this was like 5 years later, so some of it fresh, but like most of it not, right? You're like reteaching yourself it.
There's a lot of numbers and details that tend to fade with years.
Oh, for sure. And law changes and they add new topics to the bar that weren't on the bar 5 years ago that you have to like reteach yourself. So not like my favorite time in life. And I said to my then boyfriend, who's now my husband, the reason I moved out here, I'm like, I'm not doing this again. So like, we're either Utah based.
No corporate law.
Yeah. Like this is not happening again, but it worked out well. But
sorry, I got it to step.
No.
So what brought you to Utah specifically?
My husband lived out here. Okay. So we went to high school together, but like didn't date in high school, but knew each other. And then Christmas, everyone would go to the same bar in town. And Fort Lauderdale's kind of a small town once you get used to it. And everyone's there and we just reconnected again. And he was already living out here. And so started dating long distance. And then after a year of that, I decided to move out here. And so had to take the bar again. I wasn't going to give up being a lawyer. So had to take the bar again and took it, passed it.
Nice.
Yeah, first try, thank God, because I don't know if I would have went back to that.
I've had to take like SEC like finance
certifications. Yeah.
And if anyone was like, hey, if you do that again, I'm like, no.
Right. Yes. No, it's a hard no. I'm never taking a bar again. So glad that's behind me. So I was at a point where you're like, what am I going to do? Am I going to get into private criminal defense work after I pass this bar exam? Am I going to pivot And I found it as a really good opportunity to pivot. And I loved criminal defense work. Again, I think it's like one of the most noble fields you can get into as a practitioner, but it's stressful. And a lot of attorneys think I'm crazy when I say that, because family law is looked at as like a really stressful field of law, which it is. But criminal defense was stressful. You know, you're in court every day. Like there's not a day really that you're out of court.
Because like I grew up with my mom being a pediatrician, and when I was thinking about jobs, I was like, I don't want to be in a place where people are like, again, going through some of the worst times of their life, bad energy, like all of these things. So in a similar way to be like, I'm gonna go be at the courtroom all day.
And building your way up through the public, you know, defender world is getting more serious cases, right? So you prove that you're doing well with like juvenile court, where I started, and then they move you up to felony court or misdemeanor court. And from there, you get higher level felony offenses. So what you're dealing with, it's all heavy, but it becomes heavier and heavier and heavier. So, you know, you're dealing with people that are facing, you know, 30 years plus in prison for the rest of their life as I was leaving.
No pressure.
Right. And that's a lot of pressure. And also, you know, they might lose and besides go to prison for the rest of their life, their family has forever consequences from maybe their father being incarcerated, their son, who knows. And so I knew I wanted to pivot from that a little bit and not be in court every single day and not have like that kind of weight on your shoulders. And I was still pretty young. You know, when I moved out here, I was 30. So it was a good point to transition. And I thought, okay, well, what can I do that's still, I'm in court, because I love court. I love litigation. And that's the world that public defense showed me and taught me, was that, you know, you build these amazing litigation skills that a lot of young attorneys don't get, because most young attorneys chase the big paycheck out of law school. They want to work for the fancy law firm downtown that will give them a nice paycheck, but won't give them experience, right? They're going to make them a paper pusher, and maybe they get to argue a motion here and there, but they never get to do the big trial. And it takes them years in their career, maybe 10 years, to finally get to where they think they want to be. So there's lots of ceilings in law. If you kind of go in with that mentality of, I just want the paycheck, or I want to wear a suit every day, I want to be at the fancy firm. And when you go into public defense or prosecution work, you know you're not going to make the money, but you know you're going to have invaluable experience that you get to carry with you the rest of your career. And you're in court every day. So you become a good litigator, right? Hopefully that's the goal. And you learn evidence and you become dangerous in a courtroom. And so that's what that gave me. And I'm like, how can I pivot that?
Which has got to be such a fun confidence.
It's fun. It's great. Like that kind of, it's great. It's super fun.
Hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
If like comedy is like a thing where someone would be like, hey, like, go hop on stage. You think you're funny? Go make people laugh. I feel like being in a courtroom is like, oh, you think you're good at arguing? You think you're a good like speaker? Go make your point.
Right. And that's where I was like, how can I kind of use this dangerous skill set in a way that it's not the exact same thing as what I was doing? Yeah. And family law came to mind as like, you're not in court every single day, but you get to go to court enough. And you still get to help people, because the last thing I want to do is like sit at a desk and just push paper all day. Like that's not for me. And I couldn't do that after working like so closely with people and families for 4 years. Like I had to continue that just in a way that was like better balanced. And so family law really hit for me in doing that. And then I also realized after getting into it for a couple years that a lot of family law practitioners don't have that litigation background. So it's become a good way for me to kind of use that skill set to my advantage, you know, and to my client's advantage. And that when we do get to go to court and we do litigate, it's something I'm super passionate about and I love it and I'm good at it, you know. And a lot of family law practitioners just don't get to use evidence a lot. They don't get to make the big objections. They don't get to do jury trials. So I get to kind of use that background to my advantage, my client's advantage, and help them better their outcome in a courtroom.
Interesting. Because I hadn't thought about that before. Because like, again, like you probably know better than me, but X% of family law ends up in trial.
Correct. Small amount.
And so if I've been in family law my entire life, I'm like, I've gone to court 5 times. Compared to you, it's like, this is the 50, like whatever order of magnitude that would be.
Right.
I'd be like, thank God I ever confronted
Right.
the person's like, oh no, let me remember. Like that's like the litigation for dummies books out on the table. It's like, I know.
Yeah.
Go well.
Yeah. And everyone, you know, and that's the great thing is like the bar here is awesome. And the people I work with, I always say work with, you obviously you're working against them. But most people are super like-minded to get into family law, and then it's like, let's help people, let's problem solve. Litigation is not usually the best route for these families or these individuals, which is true. And I try to avoid it for my clients as well. But what I like is when we do get to go, it's kind of like that's when the gloves come off, right? It's no longer a problem-solving world. It's a world of legal art, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk to me about, if you go back to the pre-family law litigation that you used to do compared to the attorney you are now, I mean, how do you think you've grown? How do you think you've like changed your perspective on the legal system, or just like how that's shaped you?
Sure. I definitely think family law has changed me in that you can't be as aggressive, right? A lot of people have this mindset of, oh, I want like the bulldog attorney, right? I want somebody who's going to rip my ex apart and things like that. And that's not really what family law is. And if you go in with that mindset, sure, you'll find an attorney like that. But the goal is to problem solve, right? And to avoid litigation. And again, when you're in litigation, sure, the gloves come off. But one thing you learn as I think a public defender or criminal defense attorney is you're an orator. Like you're there to tell a story, right? You're there to tell your client's side of the story and hopefully show that the state, the prosecutor can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt your client did it. And that's because you're convincing them of a story. And I feel like that's what we get to do as litigating attorneys, right? You get to be your client's voice. You get to hopefully convince the judge that your client's story with the help of evidence is the correct story and the judge should rule in favor of your client. So that background of just constantly trying to prove a story, I think helps a lot from the criminal world into the family law world. And just, you know, I'm here to tell you why this version of the facts is correct versus the other side. And I think sometimes if you don't have that experience of trying to persuade, right, a jury of a certain side of the story, it's harder to communicate it as well.
And it's wild to me, like because I graduated from college 8 years ago, a little over 8 years ago. And it's interesting because I remember when everyone was picking their majors, thinking it was like the most important thing in the world, second to like what house you got picked on in Harry Potter. Yeah. I would always give people crap, the communications majors, or especially the strategic communication majors. And it's funny now because like everything that I've learned about, I mean, how to get people to do what you want, how to get things done, how to get people on your side, it all comes out of strategic communication. Yeah. And it's interesting to not realize how much of a skill that was until I realized how much it mattered in seeing the people who got, I mean, the promotion, everything that they wanted to. It wasn't just about like, oh, we'll just buckle down and do your time. It's like, no, they're good communicators. Right. And in the same way, like, I mean, if you're doing litigation, it is a storytelling. It is this idea of what you want them to know or think. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, articulately communicating that to benefit your client. Yeah, it's super important. It's one of the most important things we do as a litigator. Cool. Yeah. So you start the firm. Yeah. I mean, walk me through how like the Avengers got assembled or how the team is come together. Because I mean, obviously not just you now. Right. But talk to you about how that grew up when some of the people that have made it what it is today. Yeah. The team is definitely why we're a strong firm for sure. And how it got assembled is really, again, me believing that like we have to get back to better client care. And that's like always been my top priority is how can we reformat this equation, let's say, or how can we look at it differently, law, right? And most people, when you walk into a law office, you and I are talking about this, it's like stale, it's boring. It's a lot of diplomas on a wall. It's a lot of law books. And I wanted to very much get away from that because
I think that's separating the attorney from the client, or trying to create a dynamic of, I'm the attorney, and I'm going to, fix everything, and I'm this superior being type attitude that a lot of, attorneys across the board have. But that attitude gets away from a good, I think, rapport with your client. And so I wanted to create an atmosphere where it was client focused, right? Like, how do we redefine or reapproach how we deal with our clients, and have them come into a space that's bright and cheery. Have them come into a bunch of lawyers that you maybe sometimes can't tell who's the attorney, who's the paralegal, who's the staff. And that's how we want it. Like, you're not going to come in here and find a suit. The only time you're going to find a suit is because maybe we just left trial, or the courtroom or something like that. But it is a laid back, inviting atmosphere, because the goal is to create a relationship with our clients and not just look at them as a case, right? Or, the medical analogy, like a chart that maybe you look at before you go in to talk with them. Like, I wanted to change that dynamic. And so assembling a team that, had the same viewpoint, versus hourly billing, for example. Like, a lot of attorneys focus on, how many billable hours can you get?
I mean, it becomes like a KPI for the entire firm. Like,
totally.
You have to have so many hours, billed hours, and you have to go find so many billed hours.
Yes. And that takes, again, away from, I think, what's important in the value system I'm trying to create here. And I think law needs to get back to in general, is you got to get away from that billable hour mindset, because it takes people away from the human, right? And so here, like any of the attorneys, there is not a mandatory like billable hour that these attorneys have to hit, because if you do that, you're literally focusing on that and not focusing on what I want to focus on, which is the human that walks through the door. And so that has been my priority here in starting Law Elevated, is we're going to focus on the human, and we're going to kind of change the traditional law landscape of how offices operate so that we can do that and not just say we're doing it, right?
And one thing I want to talk about in the slight pivot is Utah and Salt Lake have such like a unique, let's focus on like the divorce side of things. Like, it's so unique because, people get married young, which people get married young, and people, I would assume, would get divorced younger.
They did.
And so even with me, like, got divorced when I was 32.
Yeah.
And like, I had this thought that I'm going to be this scarlet letter. No one's going to want to talk to me. If they do, it's got to have these answers. And if you don't answer everything perfectly, then you're out. And then all of a sudden I find myself dating. It's like, yeah, cool. Anyway, tell me more about this.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what?
No.
So I'm curious especially being someone from out of state, coming here and seeing some of these trends, rates, or just clientele differences. Like, what do you see that makes Utah unique in that aspect?
Yeah, I think Utah is super unique in that there's plenty of people getting married young, right? Like, that is not something I grew up with, or a lot of my friends did in Fort Lauderdale, right? Like, most of my friends have kids in our 30s. Like, that's when we started having kids. In Utah, you're like old for having children, starting a family in your 30s. So that dynamic is different, right? And took some getting used to. But I think there's plenty of, young couples out here that are obviously like getting divorced at a young age, and they're remarrying also at a young age. And so it lends to unique dynamics when it comes to the initial divorce and then post-divorce life, because when you're remarrying and you have kids, maybe your new spouse has kids, that can create a lot of dynamics that didn't exist, when you got divorced, that now you're bringing to the table in, this kind of new phase of your life, where Utah definitely has that more than I experienced in Fort Lauderdale, for sure.
Yeah, it is a very unique one, because like, even a lot of my friends that got married young, had kids young, and then got divorced young, then there's this new dynamic of things. And so my sister got divorced before I did. And it was fun to see her just like, use that as a stepping stone, really championing herself to be her best self.
Yeah.
But then found her like person, and to see them, not only have like the relationship of themselves, but then also being like, okay, like, I have my kids, you have your kids, there's always going to be something else to think through. I didn't realize that until I was dating someone who had kids, and they were like, there's like an epiphany I had because like my sister was even like, she's like, oh, think about dating someone with kids. I was like, what do you mean? Like they're great, but I could be like the dad that stepped up, whatever that could be. But then I was like, oh, but there's like this part of you'll never be the first priority, which is, it's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a thing. And there's something you have to come together with. And so again, like when I was dating before I got married, I was, like the end of college and like very different time than like mid-30s where there's a lot of responsibilities and a lot of things that have to get done. And there's this whole block of a day that kind of gets taken out of any time that you can actually interact with each other, plus all the other responsibilities you might have. And then all of a sudden you throw in like this kid aspect of like, oh, like
It's a lot.
what's up, little man? Like, hi, what do I do with this? And like, thankfully I've been around enough kids that like that it's not like I can't be around child, but it's these unique aspects that you don't really see a lot of other places.
Yeah, I agree. I have 2 brothers and they're, single in Fort Lauderdale, and it's different, right? They're not, dating or even like hanging out with women with kids yet, but they're both in their early and mid 30s.
Yeah. Very interesting spot, but it's fun. I like the uniqueness of it. I like one thing that I've come to appreciate more is the connection that can happen over shared experience, which is like the broad umbrella. But then there's like these other very specific experiences that if you share with someone, there's like so many steps, like chutes and ladders. You just went up a ladder to like almost win the game because that experience is so unique and it's hard to find people to have that.
Yeah.
And so in my experience, like divorce has been one, like if I can talk to someone about it or like seeing them in like the first emotion of like, I know you feel like it'll get better, but it's going to suck for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then also, just leaving Mormonism is like, that was another one. Like if I sit and hear that someone else is ex-Mormon, we can sit there and talk and like 20 minutes later, I'm like, oh yeah, this is my best guy now. Like, we just connected over.
It's a lot to connect over.
So it is fun to have, like, that's the, I guess, silver lining that I see a lot of the time is it helps with a lot of and in today's world, it's connections. One of the hardest things that we struggle with is population.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%.
Anything else to make sure we cover?
Whatever you think. I don't know.
So Park City.
Yeah.
So I'm always curious of like why people pick Park City specifically, because don't get me wrong, beautiful place. I've spent a ton of time here, but sometimes lacks some of like the amenities of being in, I guess like a tertiary city of the United States of America. But what keeps you up here in Park City specifically compared to being in any other part you could reasonably commute to or move an office to?
Yeah. Well, when we moved here, we started in Salt Lake and then moved to Sugar House, which was great. We were younger. We had a lot of fun. But I think being like 2 people from a beach town, we both grew up in a beach town. So it was like you want the access to, if you can't have the ocean, at least have great access to the mountains. Because my husband and I both like to get out there and recreate. He grew up surfing, and skiing. So he was super into the, being up here. He taught me how to ski and now I love it. So we kind of just reached this point where we're like, this is before housing prices in Salt Lake and Park City were like insane. Before houses in Sugar House were like, almost $1 million for like a 1-bathroom house, like crazy.
Here's your 6-bed, 1-bathroom house.
Yes.
Stand up all the way in the basement.
Yes. So it was before all of that. And thankfully, and we decided, okay, if we're going to stay here, we want to be up in the mountains. We want to be close to biking, hiking, skiing. Not that it's a bad commute at all between Salt Lake and Park City, but that was just our choice. And so we moved up here about 9 years ago now. And and we've loved it ever since. We absolutely love living up here, being part of this community. And it's such a mellow commute. Like a lot of times people think I'm crazy. Like, how do you live in Park City and go to court in Salt Lake sometimes? And it's nothing, right? And for I think most of the United States, right, a 30-minute commute to work is not a big deal.
No.
But here people think it's like a long distance, but it's not. It's super mellow, and you get to drive up and down the canyon, which is beautiful. So yeah, it's been an amazing move for us, and we love it.
Yeah, I've always appreciated Park City because in high school, one of my really good friends, I met a really good friend, and he lived up here with his mom, and his dad lived up in Midway, so spent a lot of time in Summit County to begin with. But it was fun because like I would spend kind of like down in Salt Lake school, whatever, and then I come up here to stay at his mom's house for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a cool experience for kids because like you have the bus, you can kind of go wherever you wanted to. And even now people have e-bikes and that's a whole nother topic. But it was just so fun to get used to it because like don't get me wrong, like when I was in high school, maybe we'd just left school and go skiing like junior, senior year.
Yeah.
But it was different than them being like, oh, school's out. We had like an hour and a half if you had like, let's go skiing. I'm like, oh, that's like right there. You literally hop on the bus.
Right.
And like 3-ish stops later, you're at the bottom of PCMR.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously there's like it was like the first time I saw like that levels of wealth sometimes. I'm like, oh, got it.
Yeah, there's that too up here for sure. But I envision it being a cool place to grow up as a kid, that you can access skiing, go every day if you want. And, I don't think there's many places where we have a 4-year-old and she's already a really good skier and she's already a really good biker and has her little, front brakes on her bike that like I totally didn't have as a kid. I had like my training wheels until I was 6 or something. Like, so it's such a cool place to grow up and see these kids just do, such kind of gnarly and fun things at such a young age.
Yeah. Like watching my niece and nephew go through similar things. Cause like I knew I was one of those kids, but you don't realize it when you are that kid.
Right.
You have to see it like in that third person when you get older.
Yeah.
And so like, I mean, it was the same ski season like 4 years ago. And like we're on the bunny hill and we're doing pizza. And then I mean, that was probably early November whenever I remember as the Solitude opened. And then like fast forward to the end of the season, my sister's like, hey, they want you to come ski with them.
Yeah.
You go to Deer Valley, will you? I'm like, yeah, I can have a slow day, wherever. And then all of a sudden I'm like, what happened? Like,
right.
They just have this. And then also the thought of learning how to ski as an adult when like I actually have fears and like.
It was a lot. Yeah. I didn't ski for the first time until, let's see, I was probably 29 when my husband was teaching me then. But
wow.
Yeah, I'm so glad he did. And he was a great teacher. He was super patient. And I love it now. It's great. I'm super thankful. But yeah, hard learning when you're in your late 20s, early 30s for sure.
Yeah, anybody who learned after the age of like 20, I'm like, I don't know if I could have gone through it.
Right.
I had a lot of tears on a ski hill. My grandpa's saying whether we were water skiing or snow skiing was shut up and ski.
Right,
and
just do it.
Then these like I'd be crying on the side of like the top of Sobered, and I like no like I'm like yelling at myself, cussing as like a 6-year-old. Yeah. Everyone's just staring, waiting. I'm like, there's nothing I can do. I guess I just have to go.
Right.
It wasn't that fun. Let's keep going. I'm like,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It was there was definitely some crying moments for sure. But all in all, got through it, and now, it's a lifetime sport, which is so great.
And then commute side, like I love when people in Utah think that we have traffic and like bad commutes.
Yes.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like I used to work in Lehigh as people who work in tech and live in Salt Lake do. And I mean, it was kind of nice for a while because I was like, oh, it's 30 minutes. Like I get through a podcast, get through some of a book, whatever that might be. And then I eventually started taking Front Runner there and back. I bought a scooter. So I got like 5-minute scooter ride to the office and then just work on the train. And that was a unique time. But it's wild because I interned in DC in college.
Oh, cool.
And hearing of their commutes, like this one guy commute 3 hours every day. Woke up at 3 so he could be at the office by 7 and then leave at 5, get home by 8 and do it all over again.
The Northeast is all like that. Yeah.
Like I can't like even fathom like mentally like being like, I'm okay with this. Right.
No, I think so. The town I lived in is Lauderdale by the Sea, Florida, which is just, it's 15-minute drive to the Fort Lauderdale courthouse. But because there's so much traffic, it would take me 45 minutes a lot of days. So like that is zero distance. Like it would be way faster to get on a bike and I would get there. Right. But that's why this commute Park City to Salt Lake is really nothing. It's easy. It's not bad. There's hardly traffic. So yeah.
Love it.
I love it too.
Well, before we wrap up, I want to ask the 2 questions I always ask every guest. Number 1, if you could have someone on the Small Lake City podcast and hear more about their story and what they're up to, who would you want to hear from?
I don't know. Ask me the second one and I'll think about it.
And if people want to find more information on Law Elevated or get in contact, what's the best place to go to for that?
Our website. So at law-elevated.com. Yeah. Okay. And Instagram. Same thing. Follow us at law elevated. Yeah.
Easy place.
Yeah. Who else should you have on the pod? Oh, I think a great person to talk to. He's awesome. If you want another lawyer, especially when he's like criminal defense, Stephen Grayson, he's up here. His office is super close.
I was gonna say, I've seen that name.
He's great. Him and I have worked together on so many cases. I refer all my criminal cases to him. He's not just like a great lawyer, because he is, but he's such a great human, who's just super down to earth. I think him and I totally like think the same way when it comes to how we approach law and our clients, just like a really, realistic human experience. His clients all love him. He's such an easy person to connect to. Like the exact opposite of an arrogant criminal defense attorney. He's great. I would put him on.
Cool.
And I think you'd have a lot of fun talking to him too.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Got a lot of questions for him.
Yeah. He's seen a lot, so.
I can't imagine, because like there's certain jobs where you go home like, oh my gosh, you'll never guess what Christina did at the office. She ate my lunch again.
Right.
But then there's the people who, like my cousin works in Air Force in Idaho, and like he just comes home and can't talk about a single thing that he did.
That's so hard.
But then also like coming home, you're like, how was work? Like, you don't want to know.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna keep this one to myself, respectfully.
Right. Oh yeah, there's a lot he can't talk about, but
also I could see the other side of things where, in the proliferation of crime podcasts and everything in between, for like, tell me all the tea, what's been going on,
right?
Give me the details.
And he was a prosecutor for a while and then switched to criminal defense and does it up here. So he just gets to deal with a lot of unique stuff.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's seen both sides. So it's always cool, I think, to talk to someone who's been a prosecutor and is now a criminal defense attorney, because they've had to approach things differently. But talk about a dangerous criminal defense attorney when they can read the mind of a prosecutor. So.
Been on both sides?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's a good one.
Yeah, reach out.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. It was a great drive up here. I'm excited for my drive down. Appreciation was great.
Good.
Yeah. Anybody who is looking for some family law services and wants a little bit more human interaction along the way, definitely check it out.
Yeah. Give us a call.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Salt Lake City Podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, review, subscribe, and share this episode with your friends. And we'll catch you next week. We'll see you there.